Hey there, this is me, Marvin, and I just finished watching a documentary of Amy Winehouse and based her life and times. And I wanted to originally go see it at the movie theaters, but I never got a chance to. Um, it would have been cool to have seen it there actually, but it was very interesting because up to this point in time, I had a certain image of her, but it wasn't really complete. Now I knew a lot of her music because I really liked her Back to Black album, also her Frank album. I enjoyed that. Um, Kind of wish she maybe had a few more albums, and also Lioness, which came out after the fact, after her, posthumous or posthumous as they call it. Um, and but I kind of feel like in a way, even though she didn't get to make a whole bunch of albums, maybe that was good because sometimes when artists make so many albums, it's like it kind of gets repetitive or redundant, and because it just it's didn't feel like since you only had two original albums really, it was everything was really concentrated. So like all the quality was just like there because it took time to make those albums. Um, and she really poured her heart and soul into the music. You can tell she really was a true artist, like and a true singer too. Um, I kind of hate, but she wasn't always on key. I mean, but she just had a beautiful voice, and her voice is very. It just stuck with you. So when you heard it, it wasn't forgettable. It was like it's almost like it cuts right to you. It's just like it just gets to your heart and soul right there. And whatever she's saying, just you really could feel her words. And all she was writing her stuff, which is also another big help. A lot of times when people write and sing their stuff, it just it comes through there all the true emotion and hurt and joy or whatever they're feeling in that particular song. And that's how I feel when I'm singing and when I'm writing. I just feel everything in me just like comes out in these songs that I write. And so I found myself as a songwriter and a performer. I relate to a lot of what she felt, and just her a lot of just like the drastic mood swings it seemed like she would go through. A lot of that being um, enhanced by drugs. And I never really had any really big experience with drugs. Alcohol, yes. I think I've even had a point where I was kind of borderline alcoholic for a while. And I can kind of go in little bouts of alcohol where I just drink too much. But I was kind of, I kind of like had to kind of just pull myself back, but never really on that level that she was on. And hearing about like the heroin and the crack addiction, and that's a pretty like scary stuff because I mean you go too far with that stuff, it can really mess you up and you just kill you from overdose. And so she's had a very interesting life for sure. Um, Her voice, just like I said, just is very just special and just crafted in such a way from all her influences. And it makes you want to go back and listen to her influences because they obviously just had like a huge impact on how she sings. And she just had this unique thing about her. She had the old school thing, but she kind of brought it modern, And you just enjoy to hear. And like I said, her songs, you just kind of like just they click with you because she's like, okay, I've been in that situation, or she makes it to where you can understand someone in that situation. She just breaks it down so well because she just had a gift for songwriting, and not everybody can songwrite, unfortunately. Which is fine because not everybody's a songwriter. But when you can really break down stuff just so like well, conversation wise, and put it into a song, and then sing it well too. On top of that, because not everybody can do both. It just really is a gift to be able to do that and just do them both so well. Um, and she's an inspiration for me. She impacts how I sing even on songs and what I just have to do with songs. I think what would Amy do in this situation, or how would she kind of make this more interesting? She's impacted the way I sing. After I heard her stuff, it had a big impact on me, and I love her song "Wake Up Alone" and several others I love. "Take the Box." Um, a few couple other ones I just really like. Help Yourself. Just I just had to have like just these songs just stuck with you, and they were quality songs, and they were honest songs, and sometimes they were pretty frank about love and all the little things that come with that particular topic. And she just had a way of just not making it feel generic. Because a lot of times when I hear love songs, they're so super generic because they're trying to reach everybody. But but they don't want to get too specific. They don't want to leave out anyone because they want to try get as much of an audience as they can, which I understand that. But sometimes when you're doing that, it just waters down the topic, and it kind of feels like it's become cliche. Like it doesn't feel authentic. And so just hearing her songs, and every time I hear one of her songs, I'm just like, and it's just beautiful to hear her sing, and the songs I just relate to the songs, and I get them, and it's making you feel happy. And if you can bring joy to someone with your singing and your performance, it's just like that's the best feeling in the world as a performer, knowing that you're responsible for creating someone else's happiness. This is a great feeling. So it just inspires me as a singer again. It's her song, especially "Wake Up Alone." That song just has such a big impact on me because I kind of feel, when you really, 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 really are into someone, like you would give your life for them. That song just clicks with you. When you've had feelings for someone so strongly, and you can't be with that person for whatever reason, and just that feeling of just pure loneliness because you can't be with that person and you're really by yourself and feeling like that. I'm not just a group thing, it's just an individual thing. That song just clicks with me and just it just takes me back to a few different situations where there was someone I just was really, really mad about, really, really crazy about, and it just killed me. I couldn't be with them, and like I said, when you've been in love or loved someone so hardcore like that, it just, like I said, if you can't be with that person, it's rouse your brain, rouse your mind, because cause it's like almost like everything you are is them in that sense, and again, and just her song just had a way of just relating to you and just making you really understand what she was feeling at that particular moment in time. And one thing I did like about the documentary is also kind of explained a lot, not so much on purpose, but just kind of like just through the telling of like putting certain songs in certain spots of the documentary and going along with the story of her life and what was going on at that particular time. And also explains a lot of songs like Stronger Than Me, like what that was about, and showed the man she was in a relationship with first, which was an older guy, and then and eventually kind of went into the whole Blake thing and how she met him. And I just felt like Blake just wasn't really good for her. I think they had some good times, obviously. I think, initially, I think it just started off wrong because he was seeing someone else, and they kind of got together, and then after that, he decided eventually he needed to go back to his girlfriend, and that like kind of tore Amy up, obviously, and so she goes and sleeps with his friend, and just is very kind of messed up and mangled, and people just were not thinking clearly when this was going on. And then eventually they come back together. I kind of felt the reason why he actually really kind of came back together with her was because she was getting bigger, and he was like, okay, I want to be a part of this thing. And that's kind of vibe I kind of got. He might have actually, had feelings for her, really cared for her on some level, but I think a lot of that had to do with her fame factor, and he wanted to be a part of something like that. Cause I don't think his career was really popping either. I haven't really researched his band, but I don't think it was like probably not on no level that Amy was, she just had it. She had that thing, and people picked up on that, and people wanted to be a part of that and hear that. She just had something to bring to the table that no one else could bring because everyone else was trying to do, the modern stuff or whatever's hot at that moment. And he had this old school vibe, and I guess she knew just how to bring it into the modern world, and people just picked up on that, and I know I picked up on it, and it just stuck out from everyone else that was singing at that time. So yeah, she just had something special about her. And also, like I said, how they placed the songs in the documentary, just explain, oh, that's what that song was about. oh, now I understand why she talked about that. Then it all just kind of connected, and it was like, oh, okay. And there's nothing like when you hear, especially when it's artists that write their own stuff. It's nothing like when you hear, read their life story. You kind of can start connecting the material that they perform, and just like, oh, that's why that song was sung in that way, or why they just have to talk about that particular topic because of that person, or because they were dating this person, or because they broke up with this person, and came through their music. And it's cool because people go through this crap every day. It's all this emotional stuff. When you're in are coming out of a relationship or about to go into one, all these emotions and things just come out naturally. And when people put these all those emotions and junk into songs that other people are feeling or are gonna be feeling at some point, it just it's just smart. I think it's smart. Because people want to hear that someone is corresponding with what they're feeling or what they have felt. People always want to feel like they can relate to whatever it is that's being presented to them on some level. And once they can identify with whatever it is, they just connect with that and it sticks with them. And they associate with that then at that point. So I think as a songwriter, your idea is always you want to be honest about what's going on in your life, but also you just kind of want to find a common ground on some point as well with your audience. Like, hey, yeah, I went through this specifically, but I'm presenting this to you so that way you can kind of work with this, just like I did. So I really enjoyed it. I think it was about the time I saw it. And like I said, she was a real true talent. And it is sad, but I didn't actually feel like sad, like, oh my God. It's like, 'cause I knew eventually she was going to die. That's what the documentary was going to get to at some point. But I kind of felt like, her life obviously wasn't perfect. And I think fame was a big, it kind of like pulled on her a lot. And she just wasn't ready for that. She really didn't know how to handle it. And so that's why she drank and she did drugs. And one of the things I kind of picked up on too is like somebody every time she went out, the camera's like just going like freaking crazy on her. And just from the outside looking in, it was too much. And I was like, I can only imagine being in the center of that and just being like, this is too much. Like all those flashing lights all the time you step out, especially at nighttime, and it's to me they're like gnats. You can't hit them though. So like these constant gnats around you all the time, very annoying, very frustrating. Um, you can't do anything about it because you're on that level, and you're not supposed to like hit these people because it's bad. But sometimes you don't want all that. Sometimes you want to be able to step outside and just be like, with no cameras or anything on you. If you like that attention, that's fine, but everybody likes that. Sometimes people just want to be able to do what their job is, what their career is, and then have their little lives, go, have breakfast, drink orange juice, go for a walk in the park without being like stalked everywhere, because now you have the status with you. And there was something that she had said in there that I thought was kind of interesting, and how she kind of felt about Faye. At one point, she kind of mentioned, I guess, late before she had passed, or that if she could go back to life where she could walk down the street without a hassle, she would do it. She would give everything back just so she can just have everything normal again. Because once you step into that spotlight, especially like that when you're so successful so quickly, it, you know, it sticks, and people are always going to be watching you at that point. You don't really ever get a break from it. And I think people a lot of times kind of laugh off fame, like, oh, they shouldn't have been famous in the first place. They didn't want all that. But people, if someone genuinely enjoys performing before others and it brings others joy, and that truly makes you happy on some level, then it's inevitable that you're going to get more attention because you enjoy what you're doing, other people enjoy what you're doing, and more people are going to want to hear it. And you don't want to feel like you gotta, keep yourself at home all the time and just sing to yourself. I mean, it's okay, but it's nowhere as enjoyable as when you share with your gift with other people. So, it was very interesting. I enjoyed it. It was very informative, and I think again she just had a wonderful voice and and just she just was special, very special. And I'm glad she was able to make the music that she did while she could. And she made some quality stuff, some, grade A quality stuff. And that stuff is going to be played again and again and again and again and again and again. One thing that was kind of interesting too is about how she had mentioned about how she was getting ideas for like these battle rap ideas. And like she was kind of like talking to people like, I guess, Questlove, people like this. And I was kind of interested to kind of see what she would have done with that, like what she could have created from that stuff. Cause I think that would have been an interesting turn for her. Showing that song that she did with Nas. Was it like Smoke? Yeah, like Smoke, which is a good song, I think, and it would have been an interesting little way for her to kind of segue into something a little bit more different with that rap. But Nas, I enjoyed that song. It just flowed well. Her voice just sounds great, and I think it would have been an interesting turn to see her kind of go in that direction, and kind of like just pull something like. I think she had the creativity to do it, and and just again, it just would have been interesting. Another thing I kind of found interesting, it was something I have. I can't think what it was now. I keep forgetting it. Oh, so the other thing I wanted to bring up too was when you have so much success and you have songs that you're known for, but eventually, you kind of come out that much, because you grow as an artist and you change over time. So when people want you to perform stuff from like 5 years ago or 3 years ago in a place that you were at that point, that was fine at that point, but then later on you're like, those songs, I've grown those songs. They were cool at that time. That's where I was at that time. But now I'm in a new spot. So you want to be able to have the freedom to perform and where you are now. But at the same time, you got an audience that has expectations on you. And I agree. I've done the same thing as a fan of an artist. Whenever you have an artist that comes out, artist has been out for a little bit of time, and then they're known for certain material, certain material that made them really popular, got them to where they were. But then at some point, as an artist, they want to feel like they can grow and do new stuff. But then sometimes your audience just doesn't want to hear the new stuff. They want to hear the old familiar stuff, the stuff they knew you for, even though you're not even there mentally anymore. That's what they want you to perform because that's what they know. People always rather go with what they know than what they don't generally. So, but it's kind of limiting as an artist too, because you want to feel like you have the freedom as an artist, as a creative person, a person that likes to push boundaries. A lot of times, you want to feel like you have the freedom to go to new spots and do new things, but at the same time, you have to support yourself. So you have to do your older stuff, even if you might not particularly like it anymore. That was one of the reasons why she kind of spiraled down for a little bit, because she was trying to do stuff that performance stuff that she wasn't even really into anymore. She wanted to do some new stuff, and it made her unhappy. And so when you're unhappy, you do stuff that's not good for you. It's just you're more susceptible to that kind of stuff. And I thought it was kind of interesting, kind of watching that and understanding, how artists change and how artists want to be free to perform and do stuff they love. Which brings me back to my own music, the stuff that I write. I've written so much stuff. Years and years and years of songwriting material. That's what I have blocked up in my room or blocked up in my but it was interesting to see her writings too, and how she kind of scratched stuff out. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna put this word here. Very natural songwriter, and I relate to that some. I don't put little heart doodles and stuff on my stuff, but yeah, I relate to that. But I just have all this material in my house or in my apartment that needs to be released on some form. But I kind of think like, what would I like to hold back for myself? What would I like to perform? And it changed because, I'm really, really behind some music that I wrote. But I think my problem is that since I don't perform any of this stuff that I've written, I never really have to stick with anything. So if I get a new idea about something, I just hop on that new idea at the time instead of just working off of what I've already written. Cause I think a part of me is fearful that I'm gonna get pigeonholed to something that maybe I'm gonna feel, for that year, but then a year later I might not want to sing that stuff anymore. I might want to do something different, but I feel like if my audience doesn't allow me to go to that new stuff, if I don't get a positive reaction from them, then I'm gonna get stuck singing that same kind of stuff over and over and over again, even though I might not particularly like it. Even though it's really weird because a lot of songs I actually do sing on again and again and again are songs that I wrote years and years back. So I think my biggest problem, I just need to get out there. That's what I have to do as far as pick some good stuff that I think is gonna be liked and perform it and just see what happens. I've always been fearful to put out my own music. I kind of wish I had the little gumption that I had when I was 21 and 19 when I performed for my mom and her friends at the house that one time. I did a whole like little album listing of stuff. And I was proud of that stuff that I did because that was me being honest, and I had the ability I could really write, at that time. And I was really creative like then I could still really write. And I think I write a little bit better now. I would hope I write a little bit better now. And I can write with a little more depth because I have more life experience to pour into my songs now than I did at that point. Even though I had some good life experience then, I have so much more I can pull into my stuff. So my problem, or thing I have to do, is just seeing her and seeing that music and how she was a true artist just inspires me as an artist, to learn more about music, to become a better musician, to just be a better artist overall. Because I have that inside me to do it. And so, like I said, the documentary was good, very inspiring. And like I said, she was a true artist. And that's Amy. Okay, bye.